Okay, Photoshop students, I want to go ahead and go through the Select and Mask dialog box. First of all, you can access this up in the options bar by having any of the selection tools selected. However, if you want to have the Select Subject also available, you're going to need to have this either Object, Quick Selection, or Magic Wand tool selected. I like to actually make a rough selection first before I go into the Select and Mask, although you don't have to. So I'm going to start off by having Photoshop do the work, and I'm going to have it find the subject. First of all, you do want to have the cloud. You want to have this checked. It does a much more accurate job, even though it might take a little bit longer. So once I've chosen that, I'm going to go ahead and choose Select Subject. I'm then going to go ahead and go into Select and Mask. Okay, now once you get into this dialog box, let's take a quick look. Over here to the left, you're going to have some tools. Some of these are very similar to Photoshop. The very top tool is going to be your Quick Selection tool. So you can certainly use that to make selections rather than doing it beforehand. The one after that is going to be the Refine Edge Mask tool. The one below this is just the brush tool. So this is the tool you can use to actually brush on selections or brush off selections. You can also change the hardness of that brush. Let me just kind of give you a quick example. So if I want to add to the selection with this brush, I just literally paint and I'm adding back to that selection. I'm going to hit Control Z. And if I want to take away from the selection, I would simply paint and take away from it. So the next tool that is down below here is going to be the Object Selection tool. So in this case, you're just simply going to be drawing a square around what it is that you want to select, and it will select it. The next tool down here is just going to be the Lasso tool. You've got the freehand and the polygonal lasso tool. They work just like in Photoshop. So if you want to add to a selection, you can just take your lasso tool and draw into that selection. And then these last two tools, you've got the zoom in and zoom out, which I would just suggest keyboard shortcuts of Command or Control plus or Command and Control minus. And then the hand tool allows you to kind of scooch around once you are in the document. And again, I would just suggest that you use your space bar for that for your keyboard shortcut. So as you can see, the selection is pretty good. There's just some blue that is showing through. So I'm going to go ahead and head back to this Refine Edge tool, and I'm going to get a brush that is sort of medium hardness. And I'm going to make that brush just a little bit larger than the area I want to correct. So as you can see as I'm going through here, it is really doing just a terrific job at getting rid of any of that blue that is showing through. Just kind of show some of these. So this really, really does work fabulously. Let me even try it on this area right here. It's working pretty well. And then down here, I'm going to also try it. This might be an area, if I wanted to actually just have sort of a nice smooth stem, I might want to just switch and go to my regular brush tool and go take away from selection and then just find the correct hardness, again, sort of midway, and then just simply paint away that area that I don't want, and possibly even on this side as well. So there's all kinds of options here that you can use. Okay, the next area that I want to show you is over here on the right hand side. You have a section called View Mode. Now this allows you to view your selection in various ways. The very first one is called Onion Skin, and you can adjust the opacity or transparency of this. This is really great if you're going to put this image or this selection on top of another image. So this allows you to actually see that image, and you can again adjust how much of the transparency there is. We then have Marching Ants, Overlay, on black, on white, black and white, and then on layer, we'll just go ahead and show you that background at full opacity. Over here on the right-hand side, we have an area called Edge Detection. Now, if you don't see it, you can just click on the down arrow. Now what this does is it actually increases the pixels around the edge that Photoshop is working with. Now if you want to take a look at this, first of all, I'm going to click on Show Edge, and I'm going to go ahead and increase this radius. And as you can see, the more I'm increasing it, the more pixels around the edge it is working with. I can also turn Smart Radius on and off. I normally keep Smart Radius on. That's especially good if you have an image that has both fuzzy areas and smooth areas. Now, I rarely go much beyond a pixel or two for this. Otherwise, it can tend to look kind of sloppy. Okay, I've now opened up a very different kind of image that has a pretty sharp edge. We're going to want to remove this. This is a product shot, and place it directly onto a white background. What I wanted to do is to show you the difference between using the select subject by itself or using the cloud version. So I'm going to go ahead and click select subject, and it does a good job, but if you notice right here, it's missed a small part right there because it's blending into the background. So I'm now going to go up and choose cloud, and I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to go ahead and discard that. And there you can see it's just done kind of a much better job. So I'm going to go ahead and now hit my select and mask, and I'm going to bring this into view. I want to go ahead and show you some of these global refinements over here. Again, I'm going to want to put this on a pure white background, so I think I might choose on white. It was photographed, as you can see, it's kind of a slightly dirty gray background, but since I'm putting it on white, I'm going to go ahead and use that. Now, I'm going to zoom in, and I want to show you some of these global adjustments. So the edge here, first of all, smoothing, if you have any kind of little like divots, you can actually go ahead and hit smooth. I'm going to do this extreme so that you can really kind of see what I'm doing. So here is where we're starting, and then I'm going to go to smooth. The problem with smooth is that it will often give it a really fuzzy outline. So if I'm doing that, I will also bump up my contrast a little bit. It takes a few seconds here to get in. And that will actually bring some of that sharpening back in so that it doesn't look completely fake. You can also shift edge. You can shift it in a little bit and then shift it out a little bit. I don't really use this very often, and unless I have a little maybe white line around it. In fact, I will go to look at this on black. Yeah, and we're pretty good. Let me do this. If I have just a little bit of a white line like I do there, again, I might shift the edge in just a little bit to try to take care of that. The last one I want to show you here is feather. Again, I don't use this, maybe just a couple pixels. It will just feather that edge. Let me kind of go extreme. If you go too far, again, it can look sort of really unnatural. But that's also a really good global adjustment. Okay, I want to show you another very different kind of image. So here is one with fur rather than a smooth edge. So the first thing I will do is come up and choose cloud, and then select subject, and then select and mask. Now there's this great other tool in here called Refine Hair, and I want you to keep a close eye on this area when I click on this. It does a really great job at actually isolating those hairs to make it look much more realistic. Now before we complete this image, I need to show you the various output settings. Over here on the lower right, you do have a few options. You can output it to a selection, a layer mask, a new layer with layer mask, a new document, or a new document with a layer mask. I normally just choose layer mask, but there is one other thing I want to show you. If you have a background where the colors are bleeding through, the green is ever so slightly coming through in this area, you can actually come over here and click on Decontaminate Colors, and that will neutralize it. Now that does force you to output to new layer with a layer mask, but that's a great job. You can then just hit open or OK, and then you're finished.